too, but that's no reason to do it. Now, how is it, pragmatically speaking, that a president can do that? You would just submit a budget where those things are defunded, or you basically appoint cabinet members and tell them to stand down? What is it that you do?
Well, that requires legislative cooperation, but based on my experience as governor of New Mexico, the criteria for hiring anybody for a cabinet-level position, of which there were about 20, was to work yourself out of a job. So although the legislature didn't abolish anything, effectively you can really do things a lot better because the executive gets to appoint all the heads of all the agencies. The president, a governor of a state, effectively controls all rules and regulations. In New Mexico, when I was governor, I'm going to pose to you that they got better on a daily basis. They got better on a daily basis with a basis in common sense, with the notion that it should cost us less time and less money to comply with laws, rules, and regulations that didn't make us any safer, didn't make our lives any better. They just added burden to complying with the notion of doing that, when the reality was anything but.
Okay, this is a political question. What are your plans if it shakes out as we all sort of think it will, Romney, Santorum, somebody versus Obama, and we want to see you on the debate platform? What do you think your chances are? And if you're excluded, as you know, the talking heads are wont to do you have any plans to make an issue of that?
Well, this is really the pie in the sky scenario. The pie in the sky scenario is because of Perot, they actually established a 15% threshold, that if you poll at 15%, you're going to be on stage with these guys in the national debates. Right now I'm polling 9% against Obama and Romney. I don't know if it's my name so much or me as just any third name. 70% of Americans right now say they favor or they would seriously consider voting for a third-party candidate. That number has never even come close to approaching that number. So pie-in-the-sky scenario, 15% in the polls, on the national debate stage, anything can happen.
Okay, cool. Because I would suspect that once, if it got down to that and Ron Paul was no longer in the race, then your numbers would certainly pick up, because those people, the Ron Paul supporters, are definitely not going with either of the other two. They have nowhere to go but you.
So and that gets me back to that ACLU poll. That it's just that's a stopwatch. That's a report card on presidential candidates. And when you have Romney and you have Santorum at 0 when it comes to civil liberties, what are the choices?
If lightning struck for Dr. Paul and he somehow won the Republican nomination and asked you to be on the ticket with him, which would you do? Continue your quest for the presidency or run with Dr. Paul?
Well, I'd like to think that I'm really reality based, and much as I would like to see that happen, and he asked me for his endorsement in 2008. I gave it to him. When I dropped out of the Republican primary, I asked everybody to vote for him. That's what I asked. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, I'll just get back to what I said earlier. I think people need to hear this from more than one source. When they hear it from more than one source, even though perhaps it's the same thing being said, it just resonates because different people communicate it in different ways. There needs to be more voices, not just one.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you're right. Exactly, because it was so nice to see you on stage in those debates, those few times that they actually turned on your mic. But it was so nice to have a second voice, similar and sometimes identical to Ron Paul's, to validate each other. Because you're right, different people say similar things in very close to the same ways, and some will resonate with others where maybe it wouldn't from the first guy. And so.
And I have differences with Dr. Paul. I don't think they're huge differences. I guess I could summarize them very quickly. That is, I do believe that Israel has been an important ally, will remain an important ally. I don't want to build a fence across the border. I don't know why Dr. Paul advocates that. I support a woman's right to choose, bottom line, and I support marriage equality.
I don't think that he does support a border fence, but I'm not sure about that. But I don't think so. But
no, actually, he supports building that fence. I don't. And again, I'm not. This is not to draw differences as much as similarities.
No, I understand.
These are
absolutely.
a few of the differences.
I mean, I wish we had the luxury of that being the biggest argument we had, because when Tom and I were talking about at lunch today about, at least the rest, those kind of issues are all pale in importance to the fact that we are losing our individual freedom in this country. And I think, everything else pales in comparison to that.
Well,
and there's exactly two candidates that would support the Constitution that have anything in common with Thomas Jefferson, and that would be you and Ron Paul. And that's it. Everything else just absolutely pales for me in comparison.
Yeah, you know what? Because I fully agree with Gary Johnson as president or Ron Paul as president. Boy, would we see some serious change. You want change, America? You got two choices: Gary Johnson or Ron Paul.
Well, because freedom has become a radical concept in America, sadly, but it's a popular thing once people hear people like you talking. And I agree, it's great to have the message coming from many sources, because it resonates and people are starting to wake up and go, oh, that's right, we're not really free, are we, if we're strip searched everywhere we go, and now we're going to have TSA on the highways with Vipers and
All right, we're down to 45 seconds. Please give us a website where our listeners can go look at your message.
Yeah, make a pitch to donate a few bucks. Get online, GaryJohnson2012.com. Check it out. This is a war here, and it's for our survival. It's everything that everyone has ever died for this country. Let's recognize, focus what it's all about: freedom, liberty, and the responsibility, personal responsibility that goes along with it.
That is beautifully said. That'll have to be the last word. Governor Johnson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you both for having me on.
Absolutely.